Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/idontworkherelady. So sit back, relax and enjoy some Reddit stories. Manager, fire this worker. Time to have some fun. A brief background. I'm Middle Eastern who lives in the United Arab Emirates in the capital of Abu Dhabi. I'm a local, but I don't look like it as my mother is from Egypt, and I would get mistaken for other nationalities often. On to the story. My niece got a new pet about a month ago from one of her friends, a 5-month-old German Shepherd, and she's the cutest thing ever in my opinion. Unfortunately, the friend didn't bring enough food for the puppy, so I went the next day to a hypermarket nearby to buy some for her. I was told she liked a particular brand, so I decided to go inside without a cart or basket to see if they had it, then go back out for a cart. On my way to the pet food aisle, I heard shouting and yelling from close by, and out of curiosity, I went to check it out. I saw one of the workers and a wild Karen. While she didn't look like a Karen, she sure as heck acted like one, screaming at the poor guy about how incompetent and rude he is, and ignoring her when she was trying to get his attention. And of course, she was yelling for a manager. That's when she turned around and locked eyes with me, and made a beeline to where I was. Now, keep in mind the worker's uniform is a yellow or light blue shirt with the hypermarket name on it, in big letters, and the managers wear full suits. I was wearing black jeans and a dark blue shirt. Also, majority of the staff were either from India or the Philippines. Now for the cast. OL is Obnoxious Lady, PW Poor Worker, M Manager, and me, yours truly. You, manager, this employee of yours was very rude to me. He ignored me when I was trying to get his attention for 10 minutes, and is refusing to help me and yelled at me. I want him fired. The first thought that came to my mind was to tell her that I didn't work there, but after seeing the condition the poor worker was in, I decided to have some fun. Now, my English has a good American accent, but I also have a fairly decent Indian accent, so without hesitation, I switched my accent to Indian mode. I'm so sorry, madam. We've had many complaints about this problem worker. Don't worry, I will discipline him. And as a form of apology, please go about your shopping and at the cashier just give them my name, Roger Patel, and tell them I approved a 40% discount on the total sum for you. Ha! At least management knows how to treat paying customers. I went to the poor worker, grabbed his arm and started walking away, berating him along the way until we made a turn and we were out of sight of the obnoxious lady. That's when the poor worker said, I in trouble? It seems the poor worker was new and also mistook me for a manager and thought he was going to be fired. Poor guy. Me, laughing, ha, I'm not a manager and you're not in any trouble. I just wanted to get you away from her. And I walked away waving goodbye at him. I grabbed a car and went on to buy my puppy her chow and some other things for her. Some toys, a new collar, a leash and a comfy bed, and some other items for myself. After I grabbed what I needed, I made my way to the cashier. That's when I heard the familiar screaming and yelling. And sure enough, there was the obnoxious lady, arguing with one of the cashiers and an actual manager, trying to convince them that she was allowed the huge discount on all her items, a full cart's worth, while I was laughing on the inside. Then she spotted me, pointed at me and yelled, "That's him! That's Roger Patel, the manager who approved my discount." The manager and cashier both looked at me with confusion in their eyes, and the manager said, "Ma'am, this gentleman doesn't work here." "Yes, he does. Why else would he give me the discount? He was even disciplining one of your workers." The manager and the obnoxious lady made their way over to me, and I acted like I didn't know what was going on. The manager, pointing at the obnoxious lady, "Excuse me, sir, do you know this lady?" Me, switching on my American accent, "No, I've never seen this woman before." "You're lying! I talked to you about that lazy, rude worker of yours, and you gave the discount as an apology." "Lady, do I look like I work here? I'm a customer, just like you." It was at that moment the poor worker walked by. The obnoxious lady pointed at him and said, "There, that's the worker that I complained about to this manager." Manager called the poor worker over and asked him, "Have you seen this gentleman as the lady before?" Poor worker looked at me and the obnoxious lady and said, "No sir, I haven't." "Don't lie! I was talking to you 30 minutes ago when you refused to help me." "Madame, this was the first thing I'm seeing you or this gentleman. Maybe you have me confused with another worker." Manager nodded and told the poor worker to go back to his work. And as the poor worker walked away, he looked at me with a smile and a thumbs up, which no one saw. The obnoxious lady was fuming, with a face that was redder than a ripe tomato. I turned to the manager. "Sir, you're obviously wearing a suit like all the other managers working here, and I'm wearing casual. Who in their right mind would confuse a customer with a worker or manager?" Manager, in an agreeing nod, "Sorry to disturb you, sir. Have a nice day." I nodded back, paid for my items, and walked away, with the obnoxious lady still screaming and cussing until manager ended up calling security to escort her out of the building. And I went home with the puppy chow, the rest of her stuff, and the biggest grin on my face. Okay, first things first, I'd like to apologize for the accent. I'm sorry, but it literally didn't work if I didn't do it. I probably completely butchered it, and I'm sorry if you're Indian and that was awful, but yeah, it didn't really work if I didn't do it. But aside from that, that was actually an amazing story, and the way they smiled at the end and no one saw, that was just perfect. I do actually work here, sir. Pretty short one, but I thought it was amusing. So 2 or 3 years ago, I was a revenue office assistant at a major Midwest zoo. One of my jobs was to, once or twice a week, go around to all of the vending machines in the zoo, remove the bills, replace any change that was running low, and make a note of products that were out. Usually, I'd be driven to each location by a security officer with a golf cart, due to not wanting to walk miles around a massive zoo alone with a bag full of money. Not to mention, it was often super hot out, and not having to walk around in restrictive dress pants in 100-degree plus heat was a blessing. Plus, most of the security staff were pretty cool, and I liked hanging out with them if I could. It was a fairly busy day at the zoo, and I was being driven to one of the really faraway machines by my favorite security guard. We passed a few people on the path and he dropped me off at the machine so I could get to work. I pulled out my keys to start opening up the exterior door of the vending machine as the people we passed caught up to us. I hear the guy say to his wife, "Oh look, she's special." Then, louder to me, "Well, aren't you special?" I shot him a confused look and kept working. "You get to be escorted just to get a soda." His wife kind of tugged on his sleeve and mumbled, "Honey, I think she works here." But he didn't care. He was ready to go off on me. I unlocked the first lock and went to unlock the second. Don't we all wish we could have our own cop to... I finished unlocking the door and swung it open while making eye contact with him. "Oh," he says, and rushes off, avoiding eye contact with me. His wife again says, "I told you she worked here." I have no idea how it wasn't obvious I was an employee. Despite not wearing a zookeeper uniform, I still had a zoo name badge and a photo ID on my belt, a radio, a zoo-issued cash bag, and a big set of keys. The security officer was silently watching the whole thing, and we had a good laugh about it. I hope Mr. Soda Man made a stop by the petting zoo later to relieve some stress. Okay, that guy must be having like the worst day or week or like month of his life, because even if the person was getting escorted, you just don't say anything. Just a white coat. This happened to me many years ago, and it's safe to relate now, and nobody's going to get fired. I'll keep the backstory as brief as possible. I've just finished university and moved back to my hometown and thinking about a next career move, but I'm already moving towards IT. I have an older friend who is a senior lecturer in a biology discipline at the main university in the city, but does his required research in one of the big hospitals nearby. He asked me if I could write down some software for him and his department. No budget, so no pay, but no big deal, as good for my CV/resume. Pre-PC days, there was only one Apple IIE available in his research lab, in the hospital for me to use, so no overnights when nobody else was around was normal, and I enjoyed it anyway. Now, my friend, let's call him Dr. T, needed to be there to let me in/supervise and discuss what he needed. Long days for him, but it wasn't full time, so no hardship. At the end, he was going through a very bad time with his wife, and spent as little time in his house as he could, so weekends he would mostly go to the lab, even sleeping there sometimes, and I fell into this pattern. Lab is at the top floor of the hospital, and we both smoked, so for a break we'd go to the A&E, or ER, which was the quickest route to go outside. We're both wearing white lab coats, and Dr. T has his badge too, although I don't require one. Smoke break over and walking back in, a nurse grabs Dr. T by the arm and whispers into his ear. He says to me, "Go on up, I'll catch up in a bit," which he does. Anyway, this gets forgotten about and we continue our night developing software for a few weeks. One night, I go for a smoke on my own, a Saturday maybe, the busiest night in an emergency room. And as I walk back in, a nurse steps in front of me and says, "Doctor, we're overwhelmed, can you step in and help us out?" I'm like, "What? I'm not a doctor." "Yes you are, we've seen you with Dr. T in here for weeks, and he helps out." "He's not a medical doctor." "Of course he is. Why would he treat patients if he's not medically trained?" "I have no idea, maybe you should ask him." "But," looking at my white lab coat, "it's compulsory working in a research lab. Lots of very nasty chemicals and biologicals, and why a white coat would provide protection, I have no idea, but there you go." The nurse humps and she goes off to do the clicky heels thing. When I asked Dr. T what that was about, it turns out a nurse had asked him the same thing a couple of years ago previously, so he just helped out. She assumed a name badge with doctor in front of the name in a hospital meant medical. Nothing serious, of course. He just helped out cleaning cuts and so on. Weekend ER is busy with trivial injuries. That reminds me of a story of someone, I think they were from Africa, who used to perform surgeries on patients, and he'd done like 4 successful surgeries without any like medical background. He just like walked in one day and started doing it. He actually got arrested, but he never did anything bad, just they were literally all successful. Not my Dolly to give away. This sort of fits because the relevant guy either didn't understand or didn't get that I didn't work there. I used to be a mail carrier, but as a rural carrier, never mind the fact that most of my delivery area wasn't actually rural, I didn't have to wear a uniform. One day, my boss sent me to the UPS store to pick up the outgoing mail and packages. Since it was around Christmas time, there was quite a bit. So I borrowed a dolly from the store to help load everything onto my truck. After I unloaded my first load onto the truck, a random customer saw my empty doll and asked if I could use it. I tried explaining that no, it was my personal dolly, and it was not mine to give away since I did not work there. I didn't want to be on the hook in case he ran off with it, and didn't want to stand around waiting for him to return it, not to mention I still needed it. He did not accept that answer and kept arguing with me when I tried to explain several times that it wasn't mine to give away. He started following me into the store and yelling about how I was racist for not letting him use the dolly, right in front of staff and other customers. The staff at the store didn't say a word, which kind of ticked me off. When I got back to the office, I filled out an official incident report just to cover myself in case he tried reporting me for something stupid. My boss, who was the same race as the angry man, asked me what had happened, and I explained. She just said, "People are stupid." That's just a perfect response to people like that, because most of the time, people like that who ask for that are probably gonna steal it. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like, and if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.